Hi there, Jamie Keat here today at Teachers Tech. Hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to take a look at HitFilm Express. HitFilm Express is a great free option for video editing. You can just simply go to hitfilm.com/express and you'll see this page, and you can go ahead and they'll ask for email. You'll get an email and you go ahead and click it and complete the download from it. This is a very powerful program for free software available for Mac or Windows. So I'm going to go ahead today and give you a beginner's tutorial of HitFilm Express. And if you're looking for more tutorials on different video editing or more tech, make sure you subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. Let's get started here with HitFilm Express 4. So I've gone and opened HitFilm Express. This is the totally free version. If you're interested in a paid-for version with more options, check out HitFilm Pro, but I'm just doing the tutorial on the free one here today. You do have the option, you notice, where you can add packs on, where you can buy and add to this. I like the options that they have with the tutorials just right on the front. When you log in under the home screen, you can go ahead and links to YouTube videos, how to add certain effects. I'm going to go ahead and start a new project here. You can see the new is right up here. I also have the user guide. If I was looking for a previous project, I can go open from there. I can jump around through different things here at the top by going through. I can go to project and edit and home up this part. You'll notice when I go to new, it brings me to the project page. So I'm just going to leave it at 1080p. You can see I have some default options, and this is what I tend to use. I'm going to go with the 1080p one. If you wanted something for Instagram, you can see there's some options here, but I'm going to leave it at this one. I'm going to go right away. I'll leave all these options here because I like the default settings, and I'm going to hit start editing here. Now I could start with a composite shot here, but I'm going to get into this a little bit later in the tutorial. So I'm going to hit start editing, and it's going to bring open the ready to work screen, and it's into the different parts that, if you've used other video editors, very similar with the layout. So what I'm going to do now actually is just bring some footage in so I can actually show you a little bit better how things work. So this is where my media is going to come in, right down here in this corner. And you can see I have media selected here. So I can import the media by just simply clicking on it, going to a folder that I have, and selecting all the different footage that I have. Another way you could do it, if you have your Explorer open, you could just drag. I'll just do it this way. I'll close this one. I'll just open it back this one up again, and you can see I can select all this information and drag it in over here. So it's just going to load it up. And you can see that right away they have the thumbnail images right inside each of these. You can change this, so maybe you don't want the large ones. You can just click on this and you get more to this one where it shows the icon of what it is. You can see I brought in video, I brought in audio, and I brought in images on this one, and I'm going to show you how to work with them all. The one thing is, what I like to do before I start, usually when I drag everything in, I actually like to make folders prior to dragging it in. I just drag everything in at first. But if I click, I'm just going to right click in here, and I'm going to just make a new folder here. And so I'm just going to make my folders, and a lot of times, so I'll just call it audio. And then what I would do is drag my audio. You can see how I drag through in. Now I can just open, I'm going to create another folder here, and you can kind of guess what I'm going to call this. And I'm going to go new folder, and I'll just call this one video. And I would drag all my video in here. So this starts to clean everything up here, and then I would have one more for my images on here. So that's just how I would start with bring in your footage. And let's go on, and I'm going to show you how to do some drag it into the timeline and some basic editing. So I got my video and my images and audio all sorted out into different folders. I find this a lot easier to work with. I did the right click, but you can see down below I can do the new folder down here or delete it also. Now I'm going to go to my videos here, and I can click on each one to see what each one is. If I want to play it, I can just simply hit the play up here, and it'll give me a preview of it here. So first of all, what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to go to the Earth video that I have here. And you can see this is about a 15-second, just a rotation of the Earth here. If I hit play, Whoops, I'm already at the end here. So if I hit play, this is what it is. So I only want a piece of this. Let's say if I wanted to start about here and I'm going to set an in point and then I'm going to hit play for a little bit. And I think I want to go to about here and I'm going to set an out point. So what this allows me to do now, I can put it to my timeline. So if I click this, and it's going to say, hey, this doesn't match quite with your settings. Do you want to make sure it matches? I'm going to say yes. It makes it a lot easier. And it goes automatically into the video 1 timeline. So if I use my play ad here, I can scrub over top of it and you can see how the shortened video here. Now the video, I can still go back to the original and change different things if I wanted to put it in again. So the next thing I'm going to put into here is my intro. Now I'm going to just drag my intro across this time. So I can, the one thing I was going to show you too, if I go back to my Earth, I put the import in here. You can actually drag it down into here straight from it. So you don't have to hit the import to here to add to the timeline. You can just drag it down below. Remember anything, if you have your selection tool, I can select on any of these. And if I want them gone, I can hit the delete on this one. So if I go to my intro now, this is my normal Teachers Tech intro that I use. I'm just going to drag it straight across now. So the one thing when I drag it straight across, so I didn't even have to edit it, I can do the editing now over here with the tools that I have. So, but the first thing I want to do, I'm going to hit play on this to just show you. See, there's some sound to it. This is much too slow. I like it faster, so I'm going to adjust the speed. I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to make it play faster. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on it and you can see I have speed and duration here. So speed and duration, I can either change it by percentage or I like it how I can just change the time. So the speed, if I wanted it faster, I would go above 100% or slower below 100%. But for me, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put it to 3 seconds here. And I'll just put 3 in like this and hit OK and see how it shortens everything up. And the whole video is there still, but now it's 3 seconds long. So if you need to adjust any of the timing, just simply right click on it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and drag something else over to it. I'm going to go to the New Year's Eve one. So let's drag. And I'm just dragging it into the same video 1 here. I can simply drag it up too. So if I drag things up, it automatically creates a new video track. And since this had audio to it, it created another audio 2 on this one. So I can drag this around. So I can also add more. I can right click. You can see I can insert my tracks or delete my tracks here. But even if you just drag your video or audio over, it's going to automatically create those new layers for you to work with. So notice if I drag it back to this one, everything's in this video 1, but video 2 track is now there. So I'll just leave it in this video 1 track. Now if I play this, notice right away, since I brought it over this way, it's not fitting. It didn't even ask me to make the option of changing it. You can see this is like 720p and I have things set to 1080, so it's smaller. I can grab the corner and hold on and grab it, but what I like to do is hold the shift, and so everything isn't skewed or makes it easy not to skew it. But a quick way to do it would be to right click on the clip that you want and notice that there's a transform and fit to frame. So if I click on that, it automatically fills the frame to the right size. So just a couple different ways you can adapt it. If I hit play on this one, you can see there's some audio in that maybe you didn't want to listen to it all the time. I can go over to the audio and I can just click on it. And now if I was working on it, it didn't delete the audio, it just muted the audio. So anything, if I click the eye, if I didn't want to see certain video, I can hide the track. So even everything's still there, but it will hide it. So if I was working with different tracks, if I turn this one off, you can see that beginning part is still there, but if I scrub over top of this one, it's not, because I have this eye hidden here. So those are just some basic things to start with, some of the editing, importing it into your timeline, and making some basic cuts and trims to it. So let's take a look at some of the tools that we're going to be working with to make things a lot easier. Looking at the top here where it says editor and going down, I've been using the selection tool lots already. So it's simply clicking on what you want to move. By clicking, you can see how it highlights. You can move it around. You can select multiple clips at once by selecting, and everything moves around at once. Now I can move that back to the track that I was before. Just go to these ones. I'm going to skip to the bottom here to show you something right here. So this timeline scale is something I use quite a bit. So as I move it around, this allows you to think about like zooming up on a certain part. So as your video gets longer and longer, you might want to see, just be able to see the whole thing at once or see as much as you can, and you drag it all the way to the left. If you wanted to zoom up on a certain area, maybe you're trying to find that detail cut, then you zoom it the other way where you can start looking at things frame by frame. So I'm just going to keep it where I can see everything at the moment. So going down here, this is a drag tool. So what the drag tool allows you to do, I'm going to actually zoom back out, and you can see I get this hand. As I click, now I can just move around on my timeline very, very quickly to get to different parts. And as your video gets longer and longer, you might find this comes in very useful. I'll just move back to this one so I see more of it again. This is the slicer tool, and quite quickly I can slice up everything. You can see, and if I wanted to, I could use my selection tool, make this, select that, and hit delete, and it's gone. I can move it back like so. Whenever you've made a cut or maybe made some changes and you don't want that, remember you can go backwards with the Control Z. So on Apple, Mac, it's the Command Z. But if I go back, you can see how all the cuts and everything disappear. One thing about the selection tool that I want to show you too, as you get these handles, and I'm just going to go to we'll go to this one right here. The handles, notice these blue handles. If I click and drag, it will shorten the clip. So that cuts it off when you get those handles. Just hang on to the left click and I drag it across and it will shorten the clip. I'm just going to go Control Z that, put it back on it, and continue down below. So the next one I want to go to is the ripple edit tool. So I just showed you what it did with cutting it off the end by using the selection tool. But this one, when I click on it on the ripple, make sure I'm on the right one. Well, if I drag this way this time, it fills in the gap. So as I bring it, it automatically snaps to it and fills in the gap when you're editing it. The other way, it left the gap in between. So if you can see now, I have a much shorter one this way. Down below is the snap tool. I use this one. I usually have this one turned on all the time. You can turn it off. Notice in anything selected, it will be in blue. This just makes it easier when you're connecting things. It just snaps right to it. Again, just make sure that any of the gaps are gone on it. So those are just some of the tools that you're going to use quite a bit to speed things up. Notice that you do have hotkey options. If you go over top of it, all the names are there, and there's a letter beside it that you can use for the hotkeys on it. Let's talk a little audio now. So in this Times Square New Year footage here that I have, there's some audio attached to it. So if I hit play on this one, oh, I have it off right now. You notice that the blue speaker wasn't there. So now if I have it there, oh, very loud, like it should be for New Year's. Notice over on the meters on the left how it was into the red. I can adjust that very quickly by dragging this down if I didn't want it so loud on this one. So if I play it again, you can see now the levels are much lower. So you can make some quick adjustments to the audio that way too. So another thing, when I drag these around, so if you notice how they're connected, the video and the audio, I can unlink these. If I right click on this and unlink it, now this should be separate. So now I can drag the video from it. I can even delete maybe the audio I didn't want with it, and I just delete the audio. So now it's just the video. What I can do then, maybe I want to bring in some audio that I have. So if I bring this one, this is just some I've downloaded, and I bring it over here. And now I have a clip here. Hit play. and again, you can see how it might be running a little too high on this one, so I can bring it down. You can make the same adjustments when you open up your audio files up top. It's the same thing that I showed you before. You can make your in and out points here and then bring it down to this, or you can do on the slicer tool, just like before, you can select different parts of it and cut it. Remember, you can go back with your Control Z on it. So that's just a little bit about the audio. A lot of the effects and everything works the same with the video. We'll get into some of the effects that you can add to the video and into audio next. Let's move on to some transitions and text. But before we do that, I want to show you just different ways to look at your HitFilm here. So if we go up here to the very top, if we click this, you can get different views or different workspaces. Now I'm in the classic one right here, but if you wanted it, the controls a little bit different, you can play around with how you want this, but I'll hit for the compositing here, and you'll see what happens is the controls and text and track opens up. So as we're working, as I show you some of the composite things that you might want to try this. If you ever want to go back to the original, you can reset your layout. So, but do play around to see what works best for you, depending on what you have for your monitor setup and everything. Right now, I'm going to continue using it where I have my controls and history. Everything's just down here below. So right now I want to add a few transitions. Very easy to use. If you go over to your effects here beside media, and I'd already clicked on it, but you can see all these different effects they have, and I'll show you a few later with the that are free with HTML or with HitFilm. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and drag over the transition in between two things. So you can see I have an image that I brought in here before, just out of my folder that I have, and I'll just show you what it looks like prior. And it goes from the video to an image. Now I can just simply grab, I'll just do the cross dissolve, drag it over and drop it in between. And you can see how that's highlighted there. Now if I play it, I'll just drag my playhead over. You can see how it cross dissolves between it. I can select it. If it's highlighted, I can hit delete and it's gone too. So now it'll just be between the two clips here. And remember, you can undo with Control Z or go up to the top and you have your undo if you want it back, where you have your transition like this. So anytime if you wanted to split, you could make a slice and put a transition between, but it's just between the two things. So if I wanted a split, I could drag it maybe between these two here. And now you can see if I drag it back and forth how it splits open on it. So very easy to add your transitions between your different media. You can also do this on your audio. So in this case, I'm going to bring in another audio. I'm going to go back to my media and I'm going to go to my audio and I'm just going to drag this over here. I'm actually going to drag it under. So let's say if I wanted, I'm going to start by playing this and I have the background. I've already adjusted it. Maybe I want it a little louder. I'm going to bring it a little down, but then I want music to start playing to fade in. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a slice here. So I'm going to click on this with my slice. I'm going to click right here. So I'm actually in two pieces. And what I want to have happen now is I'm going to go to my effects. I'm going to bring in, go to my audio. You can see I have a fade. I'm going to bring it over and I'm going to drop it right here. So this is my audio, and what I want to have happen, and on this piece, I'm going to go back there because I didn't want to be on the slice tool. And I'm going to bring this, I want this one to kind of disappear because I want this music to start playing. So what I have, since I put it at the end of a clip, it's going to fade out. And the music starts playing, but maybe I want the music to fade in. I can go back to my effects and drag it here. And then so I can have my one thing that is fading out and then this fades in like so. So that's how you do some transitions on it. Very easy, just drag and drop and you can select it and delete it. A different way you can change it also between them is I'm going to click delete on this one just to show you. I'm going to go over to the control on here, make sure I select the clip I want to be on. So let's say on this, you notice if I go to controls here, I have my clip properties here, and I have my transform. Take a look at the opacity. So down here, if I click this, I won't click it yet. I want to make sure I'm going to move this. I'm on the clip. I'm bringing it over here. And let's say at the very end of this, I want to click the opacity and then drag it towards the end of the clip before it goes to the other one. That's gone a little bit too far. And now I'm going to change it. So I'm going to drop it down and notice what's happening here. So it's dropping it between, it's doing this own fade out here that I created between the two. So you could do this also with audio. So whenever you see this circle that pops up and click it, it adds a keyframe. So if I'm going to move, I'll move this audio over here and I'll turn it back on so we can hear it. So at the very, let's say at the very end of this, I wanted to fade this out over a certain amount of time. Notice I have a circle. I go ahead and click on it and then go to the end of it. And then I just have to adjust it again here to whatever I would like. And you can see the adjustment that's made. So if I was playing it at that point, it's going to start to fade out. So it gives you a little bit more customization. Now to add text, you'll have to add a composite shot. I could select a certain image or video on this one and add a composite shot directly to this by clicking here and name it. But what I'm going to do is a little bit differently, so I have it separated from the footage. So if I wanted to add text to that specific image right here, I could do it here. But the way I'm going to do this is through New over here and go composite shot. And I'm just going to go ahead and name this text. So I'll just say, okay, I'll leave everything the same. And now what it does, so it creates this, so you can see I can go back to the editor, and this is my composite shot here where I can add many layers of things. So I'm just going to add text here though. So if I go new and I'm going to add text, I'm going to leave this at just 400 by 400. I'll hit OK. And I'm just going to type something in here. So I'll double click in here and I'll put happy New Year's here. Okay. And on this part now, if I wanted to move this, here's the move up here, I could simply drag it around. Now, if I wanted to make some adjustments here, take a look over now, depending on how you have this set up, but my text tools are right here. So like I showed you before, you could have this set up a little bit differently. And you can see I have, if I wanted to change the type of font that I have here, I could just go ahead and select a different one from here. Let's do this, and you can see it changes. I can change the font size and color and so on. I can change how I wanted it to appear. So just some adjustments that you can make through here. So if I go back and hit it here, I'll go back to my media. And you'll be able to see I have this text that I created and it's named over here. I can go back and edit this anytime I want if I wanted to change something to it, or it's going to be up here too. But now I have this text. What I can do is drag it above the timeline. So you can see I have a Happy New Year's here. I can adjust how long I want it to be. So you can make this text independent of your video and make it how you want. As I said before, you can click on it and add your composite shot to an individual footage that you want inside your timeline, and then it will be connected there too. So, but it will create this brand new shot that you'll be able to see in over here to the side that you can use on it. And as you create more composite shots, they'll add across the top here. All right, so now time to add some special effects to this. A couple different ways you could do this. So I've talked about composite shots already. I'm going to show you a simple way to add some effects, but composite shots are a way to add effects to more sophisticated shots. But let's start with a simple way here. So I'm just going to go over to effects here. You can see right beside media. And I'm going to go, if you scroll down to particles and simulation, you see lightning, electricity. I'm going to drag this right onto this footage that I have right here of the New Year's Eve. So I'm going to drag this over, drop it, and I have lightning on this. Notice I get these points here that I can move around in size. I have one on the other end that I can change. Whenever you add something, check in your controls. So you can see my controls are open here. This is where you adjust. So I have lightning and electricity. If I open this up, I have all these different things I can adjust. I won't go through them all, but if I wanted more trunks to it, so now if I hit play, you'll see I have this lightning animated on it that I can adjust to it at any point. If I wanted to change it, rotate it around, you can move it. So very simply, take a look at the different effects that you can just drag onto a part of the video. The other way that I was talking about before is you make the composite shot. So if I was, you could take this individual one right here, let's say this image, and if I right click, I can make composite shot. There's a few different ways like I showed you before. So now I'll just call this example and I'm going to hit OK. So what it does now, it actually, so you can see it has the composite shot just like the text up here. But if I go back to editor, now this is named here. It actually added a audio to it, even though there's no audio. To get rid of your audio, you can just unlink this, and since there's nothing there, and delete it after. But I can go back to it, I can double click on it and it will open it up. And now this is where you can add many different things. So I could add all my effects through it this way. I can add new layers and do different things to each of these. And I'm not going to go through it right now with this, but you can add all these new layers and that individual clip. Like I said, if you, this would be for more sophisticated special effects that you can add to it, like tracking and color curves and different things like this. But for a simple one, what we can do, so if I have this selected on here, so if I have this one, let's just go to my controls on the specific one. I'm going to open up transform, and notice I have anything with a circle like before. I can add keyframes to this. So if I wanted, I could rotate, I could change the position. Let's say I'll just scale it. That means, so at the beginning it's going to be at this percentage, and then if I moved it to the end, I could change it to a different, maybe if I only wanted this to be at 50%, and I'll hit there. So it's going to change all the way from here. And I could do add motion to it. So if you wanted it to move around, you could go through and add different things. So as I go back through it, if I go to the editor to see what it looks like, if I hit play, you can see how it starts to move to it. And everything's within this. So if I ever want to go back to this and add different layers to this, I could do this. So it's just a good way, if you have a more sophisticated effects that you want to add, make sure you do it through a composite shot. Green screen is a fun option to work with on HitFilm, very easy to use. If you're doing any filming yourself, make sure you have lots of light. Try to get rid of shadows or wrinkles behind you too. But in this case, I'm just going to take this footage that I have. I'm going to drag this on here. And notice this doesn't even have audio. Every time I drag it on, it does create audio, even though there's nothing there. But that's okay. I'll just leave it as that. I'm going to take this chicken one I have. You can see it has the green screen. I just downloaded it off a free place. So I'm going to put this above. So I have this chicken, and this is all about layers. I already had the video 2 layers, so this is on top of the background. And I want these chickens walking on the street that I had shown before. So what I have to do is I'm just going to make sure I have that selected. I'm going to go to my effects and scroll down until you find keying, and then expand that and then find hue and RGB key. So I'm going to drag this over and drop it on. You can see right now it's the chickens that I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is expand this, and I'm going to take the dropper, and I'm going to click and hold and bring it over here, and I want to take that color green and make it go away. So now what I can do is, sometimes what you notice, sometimes there'll be like little green around the edges. You can change the tolerance. Sometimes that will clean it up a little bit more. You can make a few different options on it if you just kind of go through and make some adjustments, maybe even if you wanted it to be RGB versus the hue on it. But you can go ahead and check. You can see that the hue was better for me there. And what I'm going to do now, let's say if I want to change the size of these chickens. So if I click on the screen here, and remember, I can move things around, and I have that layer in the background. Maybe I want these chickens smaller now. And if you hold down shift, I'm not holding down shift, it will keep things in proportion better than eyeing it like I just did. So I'll put these on the crosswalk. I'll go even a little bit smaller. And now if I hit these, I'll just hit play here. And that was the end. And I have these chickens on the crosswalk eating some food. So that's just using some green screen footage with a couple different videos and layers and just adding the effect to it. So a very simple way if you are using green screen with it to do a job, and it can do a very good job for you in HitFilm here. So all that I have really left to do is to show you how to export it. If you haven't saved it already, make sure you can just click right up top here and you'll notice that you'll have the options to save it. Make sure you find a place. Make sure you save it continuously just in case anything crashes on it. But first, to export it, if you go down right to here, you should be able to see this is going to export the content. So I'm going to go ahead, click on that. So the editor timeline has been added to the export queue. So I'm going to just go there and go to export. And now I have some options that I can do here. You can see at any of these, I can make a change. I'll leave it to YouTube. Here I can change where my output is. The duration is only 1:34 there. So, and like I said, any of these ones, if you click on it, you can change the different options. So maybe if you just want it on your desktop, I'm just going to hit cancel on this one. And down below, I have start exporting down here, and I'm going to click on it. And it's starting. So at the end of this, you're going to have your MP4 in that location that you picked, and then you'll be able to do what you want. You want to upload it to YouTube or put it into a different place to store, or just keep it on your computer. So I hope you liked this tutorial here today. I hope that this got you going on HitFilm Express. It's free. I think it's a great thing if you're looking for an editor that can do a lot of things. If you're looking for other tips and everything, just drop a message down in the description, or sorry, in the comments down below. So if you're looking for any other things you want to learn about it. But thanks for watching this week. And remember, I do these weekly tech tips. And if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.